Hey everyone, it's Vernie here. Just going to do another video real quick on these 10.2 PTR changes. They just got released today, actually. It's got a lot of updates to some set bonuses, some fixes. A couple classes got some changes, mostly Demon Hunter, because they're obviously doing the rework on that. So we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So for Death Knight, Frost specifically, change the 2-set bonus to a duration of 12 seconds, and self bounces now also grant the damage increase. Fixed an issue with Chill Streak not bouncing to the Death Knight when used against enemies with a large hitbox. It's kind of an obscure bug. And 4-set fixed an issue with self bounces now granting bonus rune or cooldown reduction. Okay, seems kind of minor. So last week they nerfed the 2-set bonus from 12 to 10 seconds, and then they also nerfed the duration of the buff. So looks like they reverted it a little bit. Kind of interesting. Demon Hunter, we've got a lot of changes, obviously, and this is all in the class tree. So Spectral Sight cooldown reduced to 30 seconds. Was 1 minute, 30 seconds. Haste now affects its global cooldown. Demonic's duration for Demon Form reduced to 5 seconds was 6 seconds. That's kind of a big nerf. Because I know your globals are pretty tight during Demonic, because you're trying to fit everything into Essence Break as Havoc. So that seems like kind of a big nerf. And that's a choice node right now, I believe. Elysian Decree has been moved to the Demon Hunter class tree, and Fodder to the Flame has been moved to the Demon Hunter class tree. Okay. I like those changes. As someone who plays Vengeance a good bit, this might mean that you start using like last resort builds, because you no longer have to dedicate points to Fodder to the Flame. I like that. I actually wonder if these are going to be on the same choice node still. Would be interesting if they were separate, maybe a little OP. Fodder to the Flame now increases Spectral Sight cooldown by 30 seconds. Okay, so that means if you choose Fodder, it's a 1 minute CD for your Demon Soul. Cool. Hunt initial damage increased by 22%. Damage over time healing increased. Sorry, damage over time increased by 30%. So a slight buff to the Hunt, which I believe every spec was taking anyway. Sigil of Flame now moved to Demon Hunter baseline. That's interesting. And Sigil of Flame initial damage increased by 200%. I mean, sure. We like those for both specs. More buffs. New talent Live by the Glaive. When you parry an attack or have one of your attacks parried, restore 2% of max health and 10 fury. This effect may occur once every 5 seconds. This seems like a really good dungeon talent for Vengeance, rather. Because especially if it's as melee focused as it is this season, you are parrying a lot. This is going to be a lot of fury generation. That's kind of nice. Having more resources is good. Obviously, I don't think it'll really be picked for Havoc, but Unnatural Malice, Relentless Pursuit, Extended Sigils, and Misery and Defeat have been removed. I mean, these were talents that people typically didn't take anyway, so I'm hoping for some redesigns here, and some new additions could be interesting. Unrestrained, so these are a lot of like the last video I posted, they were pruning 2-point talents down to 1 and then changing the second value at a commensurate rate. So Unrestrained Fury is now unranked talent, increases max fury by 20, was 10 and 20, so you just get a free talent point. Shattered Restoration was 1 now a 1 rank, increased Shattered Healing by 10%, was 5, so again, you're just a net gain of 1 point. Illidari Knowledge, 1 rank talent, reduces magic damage taken by 5%, was 6 with 2, so slight nerf, but again, you're getting a point. Will of the Illidari, Rush of Chaos, all the same. Quicken Sigils no longer reduces cooldown and sigil skills. Okay. Erratic Fellheart now reduces cooldown of Fell Rush and Infernal Strike by 8 and 15%. This is on like the left side of the tree, so it's a slight nerf to Infernal Strike and Fell Rush damage, just because you're going to have less of them. I mean, it's pretty small. Flames of Fury has been adjusted. Now a 2-rank talent was 1. Sigil of Flame deals 35 and 70% increased damage and generates 1 or 2 fury per target. So this was a talent people weren't really taking, and it's whenever your Sigil of Flame hits something, it generated more fury. It generated 2 fury per target hit. So not only that, but it's going to do 70% increased damage. That seems pretty good for AoE. Huh. So Havoc changes. Blind Fury now increases Blade Dance's final slash damage bonus by 25 and 50. So it looks like they're trying to get you to use Blade Dance more, which I always like the Blade Dance builds personally. I think it's a cool spell. And they're baking in that Absorb bonus to it, which is kind of cool. New talent, Demon Hide, increases magical damage dealt by 5%, reduces physical damage taken by 5%. Seems pretty cut and dry. Probably going to be taken. Dash of Chaos. For 2 seconds after using Fell Rush, activating it again will dash back towards your initial location. Huh. So like displacement for Mage? I wonder if it still gives you like a damaging Fell Rush when you activate it again, or if it just moves you. Because repeat damage would be kind of interesting. New talent, Scars of Suffering, increases versatility by 4%, reduces threat generated by 8%. Cool. Reduces threat, though. Does any other class have baked-in threat reduction? I don't know. That's kind of a weird one. Are they expecting Havoc to have a bunch of threat problems? Yeah, Havoc has like a good bit of on burst, but it's not like Fury Warrior level. Interesting. So new talent, Chaotic Disposition. Each time you deal chaos damage, there's a 7.77% chance to duplicate 33% of the damage up to 3/7 total times. So you're rolling to duplicate damage? This is like the Time Strike from Dawn of the Infinite Weapon? I wonder if this is... I don't know, this is a weird talent. I typically don't like RNG talents. They feel very unfun, and as a Mythic Raider, I enjoy predictability and consistency. I don't like having to roll. Hence things why like the Destro talent where you always got a flat mastery gain was nice, instead of rolling 50 to 100, you know? I-Beam damage increased by 15%. Cool. We like that spell being useful. Fell Barrage damage increased by 100%. Maybe people will take this now. Isolated Prey now causes Immolation Aura to always critically strike. Okay. Fine for single target, I guess. Throwglaive now triggers Cycle of Hatred's effect when Furious Throws is selected. Soul Rend is now a 1-rank talent, was 2, and causes 100% of damage to be dealt over time as Chaos. Okay, so just a rebalancing of this 2-point talent back into 1. We like more talents, gives more flexibility to builds. Shattered Destiny now increases Demon Form duration per 10 Fury spent was 8. This should be spent, not spend. And then a couple of Vengeance changes. New talent, Ascending Flame. Sigil of Flame initial damage increased by 50%. Multiple applications of Sigil of Flame may overlap. That's cool because you're going to have multiple charges of Sigil now. In addition to like the Demon Hunter class tree talents. So Sigil of Flame is going to be... Seems like they're trying to put more damage into it, which is nice. New talent, Illuminated Sigil. Sigil skills have 1 additional charge. You have 20% increased chance to parry attacks from enemies afflicted by Sigil of Flame. Oh, so they're turning Sigil of Flame into like a mini DR. That's kind of interesting. Okay. I mean, parry isn't like amazing. It's pretty good in dungeons, and raid is kind of whatever, but that's a cool change for dungeons. Maybe it means you won't have to kite more on the starts of pulls. If you just Sigil of Flame and a Demon Spikes, you've got that flat 20% parry plus Demon Spikes rolling. That seems like it'd be pretty good. Because right now the strategy is to pull and kite backwards with Fiery Brand waiting for Brand to spread, and I am not a huge fan of that playstyle. Agonizing Flames is now a 1-rank talent, was 2, increases movement speed by 10%, was 10 and 20, and Immolation Aura duration by 50%. Okay. Oh, a rebalancing of talents. Extended Spikes is the same thing. 1-rank talent was 2, increases duration of Demon Spikes by 2 seconds, was 1 and 2 seconds. Burning Blood now 1-rank talent, increases fire damage by 10%. Dark Glare Boon is now 1-rank talent. So this makes me think that they're really trying to offer up some build flexibility. And I think Vengeance specifically is now going to be able to take Last Resort, which is a cheat death on an 8-minute CD. Which is probably going to be pretty nice. I'll have to play around with some of the talent calculators just to look at the options for this. Chains of Anger now increases duration of sigil effects by 2 seconds. And Soul Carver now generates 3 soul fragments on initial strike was 2. So more soul fragments. We always like that. That's it for the Demon Hunter changes. So Druid Balance, Mastery, Astral Invocation has been updated. Your nature spells deal increased damage and additional damage to targets affected by Sunfire. Your arcane spells deal increased damage and additional damage to targets affected by Moonfire. How is this different from now? Let me just wowhead this real quick. So right now it's given a flat number. Your nature spells deal increased damage and additional damage. So like your nature spells are getting a flat increase plus, because this is what's baked in right now, is the additional damage to targets affected by Sunfire. So is this just saying your nature and arcane spells are getting a flat increase as well as increased damage when affected by dots? So like a slight buff? And they're already pretty mastery focused, so I guess that'll be useful for them. Friend of the Phase, tooltip change to when a fairy dragon is summoned. Your spells deal 10% increased damage for 20 seconds. This is a tooltip consistency change, not a functional change. Balance spells whose tooltips say they modify your arcane and nature spell damage, like when you get the benefit of both eclipses during celestial alignment, provide double their bonus to astral spells. Friend of the Fae does not. So it's a tooltip change. Orbital Strike is reverted to its original design and location of the talent tree. Wild Mushrooms damage increased by 10%, and the positions of Ethereal Kindling and Lunar Shrapnel talents have been swapped. So buff to Wild Mushrooms, which I think was taken first here, but is not taken anymore. And this was only taken in a couple builds. People aren't playing anymore, I don't think. Feral, Rampant Ferocity damage increased by 10%. Feral Druids can cast Innervate in cat form. They had a long post about flavor ideas behind this and why they want to keep certain things locked to caster form. Like, I think Rebirth is still, you still have to shift out of cat to cast Rebirth, but they didn't want to punish you for Innervate. I guess it's a cool change. I mean, it's very, very minor. It saves you one global every 3 minutes or whatever. Relentless Predator now reduces energy cost of Ferocious Bite by 10%, was 20, so a slight nerf there. Apex Predator's chance to activate against a single target is reduced to 7.2%, but the rate it activates against additional targets is increased. So they want it to be normalized on single target and increased against AoE. Cool. We like when they balance things for both, rather than a talent only being useful in one. So Restoration fixed an issue that caused efflorescence to slay Grove Guardians. So it's a bug. Wild Growth now costs 4% base mana, was 4.4, and Regrowth costs 3.2% base mana, was 3.4. So slight nerfs to mana costs. Resto is pretty mana intensive, but I don't think it's like cripplingly, so this is so minor, it's hard to even say how impactful this will be. Evoker, Augmentation. Prescience now clears on raid encounter and Mythic Plus start, and Prescience now has 2 charges. Okay, that's kind of nice. Lately we've been doing 17-second pull timers because you could do it pre-pull and get it on the 2 people that you want. So this just means the first 2 globals, you're just going to be dropping prescience on whoever you want rather than doing a 17-second pull timer. It's actually going to sync up better with cooldowns because you'll have full duration presciences at the beginning of the fight. I kind of like that. Devastation, Inherent Resistance reduces magic damage taken by 4 and 8%, was 2 and 4. Attuned to the Dream increases healing done and healing received by 3 and 6, was 2 and 4. So they're getting survivability buff. Less magic damage taken, more healing received. Preservation, Fluttering Seedlings no longer occur from Emerald Blossoms that are triggered from Echo. Fluttering Seedlings healing has been increased by 20%. I guess this change is just to offset you no longer being able to spawn them from echoed blossoms. So like it's like a neutral break-even change. Hunter's Mark now increases all damage taken by the target by 5% while the target is above 80% max health. We like the idea of Hunter's Mark highlighting specific targets on the battlefield, so we have made an adjustment to Hunter's Mark to cause it to increase all damage taken by 5% on targets above 80% health. When applying Hunter's Mark out of combat or before a pull, it continues to have no cooldown. If you apply it while in combat, Hunter's Mark received a 20-second CD. We don't intend for you to move this damage bonus around frequently. It's still on the global cooldown. I don't like that. Multiple hunters cannot stack this damage bonus on the same target. Yeah, of course that was... So this is their effort to give hunters a raid buff? And I think it misses the mark. No pun intended. 5% damage taken while a target is above 80% health, but it costs a global. Like, this is not enough to make people want to bring a hunter. I don't see... Unless there's, like, weird council fights, or, like, maybe fights where a boss heals to 100% a couple times. Like, inverse damage taken is just not very good. I don't like it. I don't know. I don't know what you would give hunters in exchange as a raid CD. I think this is bad. No, I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm glad they're trying, but I feel like this isn't it. This is not it. And especially because you're lusting on pull, you're going to be blowing through this part anyway. Like, does it really matter? I don't know. Okay, well, interesting. Survival. Fixed an issue, prevented set bonus from affecting your pet's critical strike chance and crit damage. Fixed an issue, prevented set bonus from affecting first periodic event of Fury of the Eagle. 4-piece now causes your next wildfire bomb to not consume a charge. Previously generated 1 charge. It's interesting. So I wonder if you're able... Can you not cycle them now because it doesn't consume a charge? And set bonus, contained explosion buff now refreshes per tick of Fury of the Eagle. Very small changes in survival. Mage Arcane. Set bonus, Forethought and Arcane Artillery now clear on encounter start. Okay. I think overall this is good. Like, yes, technically it's a nerf to the Arcane Mages who are willing to set up stuff pre-pull, but I think the idea of having to do trash in a certain way and pull onto the boss with stuff being pre-stacked is bad. I feel like encounter starts, you should be fresh completely. There should be no pre-stacking buffs. And it just needs to be that way across the board, not just for mages. Just everything across the board should not carry into a boss. Oh, Monk, Mistweaver. Looks like they fixed some issues with the 4 set. Caused some healing spells to not properly contribute to Chi Harmony. Fixed an issue, caused some healing spells to double dip to Chi Harmony. So 4 set now accumulates up to 15% of healing done, was 20%, so slight nerf. Healing Elixir now additionally heals if excess healing elixirs are generated. Healing Elixir now restores 20% of max health, was 15, and it now triggers at 40%, was 35. So buff to Healing Elixir. Again, this is a passive talent, so I don't feel like it's going to have a huge impact. I mean, sure, more healing is nice. Maybe it'll save you that 1 extra time. Expel Harm now costs 1.4% of base mana, was 3%. Expel Harm healing increased by 550%. That's some pretty significant healing increased from Expel Harm. Now deals damage equal to 25% of the amount healed, so more damage as well. I mean, that's cool. Damage range increased to 20 yards, was 8 yards, so you don't have to be right on top of the boss's ass. And then it looks like they nerfed some of the talents around Expel Harm to compensate. Strength of Spirit now increases healing of Expel Harm by up to 30, was 100. Now increases crit healing of Expel Harm by 15, was 50. So this is just to bring it in line with these new buffs. Expel Harm can no longer be cast on allies during Soothing Mist. I mean, that makes sense. During Soothe, you shouldn't really be able to cast anything but Vivify. Unison now duplicates 75% of Soothing Mist healing, was 100. Enveloping Breath healing decreased by 20%. Rising Sun Kick damage increased by 20%. That's kind of nice for Fist Weaving, which obviously translates to more healing. And Calming Presence now reduces damage taken by 6%. So a survivability buff, that's good. I mean, Mistweaver was decently squishy. It wasn't like the worst healer. It wasn't Priest for sure, but it was a little squishy. Windwalker. We heard community feedback that the additional spinning crane kicks granted by Windfoot were difficult to fit into the rotation, and Blackout Reinforcement alone was not an impactful enough payoff. Windfoot has been removed, and the set will now directly grant Blackout Reinforcement. Additionally, free spinning crane kicks should now more reliably and consistently grant Blackout Reinforcement. As always, we will continue to monitor feedback around this bonus and appreciate the testing the community has put forth. Yeah, so this is a complaint that a lot of Windwalkers have where they're pretty global locked. And so fitting in spinning crane kicks in their priority rotation is sometimes difficult. Blackout reinforcement, like your blackout kick hitting harder or hitting multiple targets, is not that impactful. So why would you want to try and squeeze in spinning crane kicks when you can do more RSKs? And with the tier set bonus reducing the cooldown of like fists, Rising Sun Kick, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch, you're obviously going to want to do those things more than Spinning Crane Kick. Always. So cool. So free Spinning Crane Kicks grant Blackout Reinforcement, increasing damage of your next Blackout Kick by 150%. Melee abilities have a chance to grant Blackout Reinforcement. So just going to be a flat damage buff to your Blackout Kick. Cool. Simple. Don't have to alter your rotation too much. Keeping the flow nice and even. Force has been redesigned. So, Blackout Reinforcement empowered Blackout Kicks reduce the cooldown of Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 3 seconds. Okay, so just executing your normal rotation just means your big hitters are going to be up faster. We like that. Spinning Crane Kicks cast during Serenity now correctly grant Blackout Reinforcement. And Blackout Reinforcement is correctly removed at the start of Mythic Dungeons and raid encounters. Good, we just talked about this. We don't want buffs carrying over from trash. It's just weird and hard to balance. Blackout Reinforcement can no longer be cancelled, so you can't use cancel aura macros? So who was doing that? It's kind of interesting. Paladin Holy Sanctified Plates is now 40% less effective. This is the survivability talent in the class tree. More damage, or it makes them take less damage. They have more stamina, and AoE does less overall damage to them. So they're obviously the tankiest healer. They're pretty much invincible. This puts them a little more in line. Maybe they'll take a little bit more damage now. Blessing of Winter now restores 10% mana over 30 seconds, was 15. This is good. Paladins don't have a problem with mana, so bring them in line a little more. 2-set Reverberation Healing reduced by 25%, and now functions with Mastery Lightbringer. This just looks like a fix. Like, they made the Mastery scale properly, so they obviously reduced the total healing done. It's probably a net even. 4-set bonus now increases haste by 25% for 5 seconds, in addition to its current effect. I mean, 25% haste, but it's for 5 seconds. I can't say it's going to be that impactful. People like having more haste. It's going to feel good, but... Blades of Vengeance now functions as an addition to your single target Blade of Justice rather than replacing it. An extra button for Ret. That's always nice. Spice up the rotation a little bit. They are kind of global locked, so that's kind of interesting, but sure. Priest, Discipline. Rhapsody now increases damage of Holy Nova by 10% per stack, was 20. So reducing Holy Nova damage. Were people actually pressing Holy Nova that often? Like, as disc, I don't remember really pressing it outside of, like, very infrequently in dungeons. Holy, I pressed it sometimes. Harsh Discipline has been redesigned. Power Word Radiance causes your next penance to fire 1 or 2 additional bolts, stacking up to 2 times. So they're putting more power into Penance, which we talked about last week, which is always nice. I think Penance is a cool spell. Radiance to me is kind of boring, so having more Penance-focused builds, cool. Ultimate Penitence, damaging bolts deal 80% spell power, was 57.5, and healing bolts heal for 330%, was 206. So a significant buff to their Penance capstone, essentially, which they buffed last week as well. So I guess they're just trying to get it in a usable state. It's a cool looking spell. I really hope it sees some use. They're putting a lot of work into it, so hopefully these are enough to make it playable. Holy 4-set bonus. Fixed an issue that caused the set bonus to activate Sacred Reverence less often than intended, so a bug fix. Shadow. Inescapable Torment now triggers at 35% reduced effectiveness from additional Shadow Word deaths caused by the Emir Jasil, the Dreams Hope set bonus. And to tally on with that, set bonus, 2-piece now triggers additional Shadow Word deaths at 35% effectiveness, was 50%. So this is the Mindbender build whenever you Shadow Word Death or Mind Blast. Your Mindbender jumps behind the target and does like a little blast of shadow damage at them, and it cleaves. We played it in Shadowlands in Season 4, I believe. It was pretty decent in AoE, so it looks like they're just nerfing it slightly, and also nerfing Shadow Word Death's effectiveness from the set bonus. Which kind of sucks, because like I think it was going to be a nice flavor change to be able to press Shadow Word Death more. Because when it hits hard, it feels good, but right now it doesn't do a whole lot, so bringing it back more just feels like kind of a step in the wrong direction. Shadow's got a really weird identity crisis, I think. As evidenced by the amount of reworks they've had. Moving on. Rogue Assassination. Exsanguinate. Active has been removed. So is it no longer a cooldown? It's a passive only? I don't know if I like that. I kind of like specs that require cooldown stacking to be totally optimal. I think it allows for more skill expression. Energy threshold changed to 50% of max energy was flat 150. Energy consumed reduced to 3 was 4, and damage duplicated reduced to 20 was 25. Just a nerf to Exsanguinate's passive. Sudden Demise's bleed damage trigger value reduced to 150% of remaining health was 200% and now benefits correctly from Zoldyck recipe bonus. I don't even know what this is, to be honest with you. Let's pull it up on Wowhead. Okay. I can't even pull it up. I have no idea what that is. Indiscriminate Carnage now prioritizes targets without Rupture and Garrote. These are very small and weird assassination changes. Outlaw, new talent, Precision Shot, increases range of between the eyes and Pistol Shot by 10 yards, and Pistol Shot reduces damage you take from the target by 5%. So cool. A proper range spell. I don't know if you have room to take this, but it sounds like it'll be convenient. Reducing damage you take. Sure, it's a flat survivability buff. I guess that's cool. Doesn't have a duration on it. Is this permanent, or is it a duration? Huh. Killing Spree base delay between strikes reduced to 0.3 seconds per combo point was 0.4 seconds, so Killing Spree is going to be slightly faster. That's nice because you don't want to be locked into an animation where you get killed by an unavoidable mechanic because you're stuck in a Killing Spree animation. So cool. Subtlety. New talent, Terrifying Pace. Gain 30% increased movement speed for 3 seconds when Shuriken Storm strikes 3 or more targets. So you're getting a movement speed buff. It's probably only going to be used in dungeons. It's kind of like Burst of Speed without having to press it. It's kind of interesting. It's more movement speed generally means more uptime for melee, so that's good. Well, you have room to take this, though. Like, what are you sacrificing for this talent? Maybe if it's early on, one of your required points, I don't know. New talent, Exhilarating Execution. Finishing moves heal you for 3% of damage done. Overhealing is converted to shielding, absorbing up to 10% of your max health. I'm going to be honest, I don't get this at all. What are they going for here with this? Finishing moves heal you for 3% of damage done. Okay, cool. Sub's got a lot of finishing moves, so like some self-healing. But overhealing converting to shielding? Like, okay, so they buff Outlaw's survivability slightly, so they feel like they have to do the same for sub, but I don't think that's the case. I feel like Rogue doesn't need a whole lot of survivability. You have Feint, you have Evasion, you have Cloak, and then you already have a healing spell. This is, I don't know, lore-wise I'm really torn here because it makes no sense to me to give rogues a shield for overhealing. Anyway, Shadow Technique's energy generated increased to 4, was 3. This is a passive. It's probably not going to be super noticeable. Tooltip has been updated, no functional changes. Shadowcraft now allows finishing moves to use Shadow Technique stacks only when it will refresh combo points to full. Shadowcraft's tooltip has been updated. Ephemeral Bonds bonus for healing received reduced to 8% was 12, so they're going to be getting less healing. Okay. You know, for the Rogue rework, they must have them in a good spot because these changes are really uninspired. Shaman Elemental. 4-set bonus, fixed an issue where Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt were incorrectly highlighted after casting Primordial Wave. Oh, great. Now my spell won't be highlighted. That's so impactful. What a weird change. I mean, I guess it's good for newer players who require the Blizzard UI to light up things to press, but anyone using a WeakWire, they're not looking at that shit anyway. Splintered Elements now grants 20% haste plus an additional 4% haste per extra target hit by Primordial Wave rather than 10% haste per target hit. That's kind of a big nerf in AoE. So in single target, it's a buff. So Splintered Haste is whenever you hit something with a Primordial Wave generated spell, like Lava Burst or Lightning Bolt for Enhance, it gives you haste per target. So right now it's 10% flat haste per target. And next patch it's going to be 20% haste on one target plus 4% haste per extra target. So for instance, if you're hitting 6 targets, this patch you're getting 60% haste for like 15 seconds. Feels really good. It makes your burst really nutty in these small windows with Primordial Wave. But next patch, it's going to be 40% as opposed to 60 on 6 targets. So yeah, it's definitely a pretty substantial burst cleave nerf on AoE. I don't know. I feel like Shaman was like that was like one of their only niches, especially for like Ellie and Enhance. Further Beyond can now only increase the duration of Further Beyond by up to 150% of the original duration of Ascendance. Wow, this is actually a big nerf to the Gamble build. This means you, in theory, can't chain procs for 30 plus seconds. I mean, I'm kind of torn because like I don't like the Gamble build, but when it worked, it worked. It was fun, but you had to get that roll. You know, every 10 pulls, you would finally get one. I guess moving away from it is a fine change. Primordial Wave can no longer be used to heal a friendly ally. It is now only an offensive spell. It's kind of a good change. I don't think many players are making this mistake, but accidentally Primordial Waving yourself instead of hitting an enemy was pretty devastating. Cost you the global. Doesn't feel very good. So making it only a damage spell, perfect. And I assume Resto, it's probably the other way around where it's only healing. 4-step bonus redesigned. Lava Burst burns your target for 15% additional damage over 4 seconds, and after consuming Primordial Wave, your next 3 casts of Lava Burst also hit up to 3 additional targets affected by Flame Shock for 100% of normal damage. Okay, cool. So the previous incarnation, it wanted you to like alternate between Chain Lightning and Lava Burst, and now it's just saying your next Lava Burst do more damage to more targets. Perfect. I mean, that just makes it easy. You really don't want to cast Chain Lightning and have to alternate like that, so I think just being able to get the bonus on Burst is great. So Enhancement. We have shuffled a few talents around the Enhancement Shaman tree to increase some available talent choices. We're also adjusting the functionality of a few talents to work with more melee builds or elemental damage types to make them more attractive to a wider variety of builds. A new passive talent is available to choose rather than Elemental Blast to allow you to opt out of an extra keybind and Maelstrom Weapon Spender to keep track of with Elemental Blast. We hope these changes give you some extra flexibility with your talent points and make some lesser used talents more impactful. This sounds nice. Right now, Enhancement is pretty much split into 2 builds. You have the Wind Fury physical build, which uses Lightning Bolt to dump, well, or Chain Lightning with the set bonus. And then you have the Elementalist build, which uses Elemental Blast or Lava Burst to dump instead of Lightning Bolt. So maybe you're going to be able to intermix a little more instead of having 2 extremely tight, rigid builds. Although, to be fair, I feel like those builds did have niches and they fit them very well. The physical build was good for single target, and Elementalist was good for AoE. So, I mean, depending on the changes, could be good, could be kind of bad. Several talents have been moved to a different place. Starter builds have been updated due to pathing changes. This is not going to affect anyone unless you're using a starter build. Elemental Assault can now also generate Maelstrom weapon charges from Ice Strike and Lava Lash rather than only Storm Strike. Okay, so opportunity to get more Maelstrom weapon. That's nice. We like the rotation being smoother. The spenders are where you want to be, dumping all your damage. So it feels good when you can spend more reliably. Legacy of the Frost Witch now also increases frost damage when consuming 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon rather than only physical damage. I mean, that's nice. This might see some play, because right now this is only in the physical build, because it only increases your physical damage. But with the increase to frost damage and the importance of Ice Strike and Frost Shock, it might see some play for Elementalist. Shaking up some of the capstone stuff. Okay. Primordial Wave can no longer be used to heal a friendly ally. It is now only an offensive spell. We talked about this for Ellie. It makes sense. Again, similar Splintered Elements nerf, so you're going to be getting less haste from mass AoE, but better haste on single target. You know, I guess you take what you can get. More single target's nice. I definitely don't like the haste being taken away from the AoE. I feel like that was their one true niche, and that kind of sucks, but... So new talent, Tempest Strikes, passive. Your Storm Strike, Lava Lash, and Ice Strike have a chance to cause bonus nature damage to your target. Choice node with Elemental Blast. I guess if you're someone who doesn't like playing with Ele Blast, it's nice. Stuff like the Thorum's build, which is like very lightning focused. It's the physical build specifically. This will be nice because it means you won't have to juggle using Elemental Blast plus Lightning Bolt. I can't see it being like... For Elementalist, I don't think you're ever taking this. I think you always take Elemental Blast. It's just too good. So set bonus, fixed an issue that prevented set bonus, Feral Spirit from granting player a Maelstrom weapon. It's a nice bug fix. Fixed an issue that prevented set bonus from changing your Feral Spirit into a Spirit Raptor if glyphed. That's a weird visual error, I guess. And Restoration. Primordial Wave can no longer be used to damage an enemy target. Yeah, so exactly what we talked about earlier. Wave is only going to heal for Resto, and it's only going to damage for Ellie and Enhance. I guess it's nice because fat fingering it felt pretty bad. Some Warlock changes. Affliction, Umbrafire Kindling now lasts 20 seconds, was 12. This is their set bonus from the next tier. There were a lot of complaints that it was too short and it was making their cooldowns hard to like prioritize properly. So having this last longer is going to be nice. Demonology, Soul Strike has been redesigned. Your primary Felguard learns Soul Strike, strikes the soul of the target, dealing shadow damage. So I think this is just giving you one less keybind, because it used to be it gave the Warlock a spell, and you had to cast it, and then your pet would cast it on the next auto attack. So it sounds like it's just going to be a passive now, and your Felguard is just going to do it, which, that's nice. I never really liked having to press that personally. It felt really, really lame and boring. New talent, Shadow Invocation. Bile Scourge Bombers deal 20% increased damage, and your spells now have a chance to summon a Bile Scourge Bomber. Okay, it sounds like a decent AoE or like dungeon change. Putting more into your Bile Scourge Bombers. They've been kind of lackluster in the past, so I like the chance that you can summon a random one. I think it's going to give you more AoE value. New talent, Fell Invocation. Soul Strike deals 20% increased damage and generates 1 Soul Shard. Cast time of summon Vile Fiend is reduced by 0.5 seconds, and your Vile Fiend now deals fire damage to nearby enemies. Okay, I mean, so making Vile Fiend stronger is good, because again, that's a useless demon that no one has ever taken this expansion. It's worse than all of your other demons except for imps. So maybe this, in combination with the Soul Strike changes, will make it so you actually want to take both those. Could be interesting. I mean, the theme of demo is summoning a billion different demons, right? So being able to summon a new demon is always cool. New talent, Spiteful Reconstitution. Implosion deals 10% increased damage. Consuming a demonic core has a chance to summon a wild imp. Some more demo AoE buffs. Looks like they're really trying to bring demo's AoE into a better spot. Rather than like only... Because right now their identity is only single target burst. So trying to tune their AoE up a little more is, I think, going to be nice. Maybe they'll actually be seen in dungeons. Here we've got some talent changes. Imperator is now 1 rank, talent was 2. Malefic Impact is now 1 rank, talent was 2. Pit Lord's Fellseeker damage increased by 40%. This is good. I think the primary complaint I read from Warlocks was that their Pit Lord was not doing enough. So it doing more is great. Power Siphon now prioritizes wild imps that are not imp gang bosses or empowered by Summon Demonic Tyrant. This is good. This is like a talent where it would sacrifice your imps and give you stacks of Demonic Core, which gave you instant cast Demon Bolts. Now, obviously, if you sacrificed it and it lands on an imp gang boss or an empowered imp, it sucks because you're losing more than if it just took a normal imp. So now it sounds like it's only going to take normal imps if those are available, which that's good. 2-set bonus has been redesigned. Demon Bolt applies a Doom brand that explodes after 20 seconds, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies or shadow damage to a single enemy. Hand of Gul'dan reduces duration of your Doom brands by 1 second per soul shard spent. So they're just giving it an AoE component, which it didn't have last time. I like that they're trying to pay attention to its ineffectiveness in AoE. Because it feels really bad when you have like one proper AoE spell, or you can talent into stuff that sacrifices pets, which is just, I don't know, it feels weird. It's like an anti-theme to demo. So, being able to do more AoE damage on command without having to like sacrifice your imps is pretty nice. When Doom Brand explodes, you have a chance to summon a Doom Fiend that casts Doom Bolt volleys. Each Doom Bolt volley deals shadow damage up to 4 enemies, or shadow damage to a single enemy. Cool. Again, more AoE. I wonder if these are going to be scaled differently. Like, if there's more enemies, the Shadow Bolt volley does less damage, and if there's a single enemy, it like scales up. That would be kind of nice if they kept it balanced for AoE and single target. But I guess that remains to be seen. And lastly, we've got Warrior. Fury. Bloodbath's cooldown was not correctly synced with Bloodthirst during the redesign of Reckless Abandon for the Dragonflight talent system. This has led to unintended outcomes where certain builds can allow Bloodbath and Bloodthirst to dominate a rotation due to extremely short, unlinked cooldowns. We are correcting this oversight to allow other builds and rotation options room to breathe in Guardians of the Dream. Reckless Abandon's Bloodbath now shares its cooldown with Bloodthirst. I mean, this just sounds nice. I think there was a complaint that the way the current set bonus was going to push Fury Warriors was into like spamming Bloodthirst, which I don't know, spamming Bloodthirst doesn't really feel that good, and right now they're just spamming Raging Blow. So going from like one spammy button to another just feels like kind of meh. So hopefully this change will allow for some different priorities, and maybe you can cast some different spells instead of just spamming Bloodthirst. And these are PvP changes, so we're not going to go over those. But so, pretty good host of changes here. Looks like Demon Hunter got a lot of love. Monk got a lot. And then Demo got a lot. And then just some, talent and set bonus changes, which are always nice. Big takeaway from this, I think the Hunter buff is kind of bad. I feel like they need to look at it and do something different. It is a free buff. You can't really say no to it, but like, I don't think this is the tipping point to bring a Hunter over something else. Unless they do giga damage, people are not going to suddenly bring a Hunter because of the 5% while their target's above 80. So I think they should relook into that. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I'll be streaming on Twitch this week, twitch.tv/Veronix. Doing some more of the hardcore warrior leveling. We're almost level 40, so that's kind of exciting. And then we've got Mythic Sark progression on retail, which is Sunday and Monday nights. So we hope to see you there. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.